everyone, so in today's video I want to talk about a wool washing method that most hand spinners or wool processors would like to stay away from, and that's called the Suint method. And the main reason is even though it's really easy to do, it really stinks. So what I'm going to do is that I've got two fleeces that I'm pulling out of my stash that I've already done all of the wool washing, so I already know what happens now, but you'll have to stay to the end of the video to figure that out. So I pulled these two fleeces out of my stash. They're very old, and I wanted to know if I could just easily dump them in a bucket, let them soak, and they'd come out clean. And now I had a basis for wondering if I could do this. Some of the spinners in my group had used this method before, and they said they soaked it for a month, came out with really lovely clean wool, but we all admitted that the wool kind of smelled even after airing out. And that is true. And I think that that deterred a lot of people from using this method, just smelling how it turned out. So I wanted to do a little research. I wanted to know how long would it take really? Does it remove lanolin? And would it always smell? And so to answer those questions, I first did my very scientific research on the internet, and a lot of blog posts said that yes, the Suint method works. It does clean the wool, but it doesn't remove the lanolin, and it doesn't have to smell. So I have two fleeces here that have been stored in my garage for a really long time. I'm getting ready to move in about 6 weeks or so. So I wanted to go ahead and bring these to my property and wash them with a process called the Suint method. And sorry, my husband's driving the tractor in the background, so you might hear a little background noise here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this, fill it up with water, and then let it just process in the sun for a month or so, maybe a little longer once I get moved into this house. And the dirt and the lanolin in here will actually create a soap that will clean the fleece. It will ferment, it will get stinky, but it really does work. So I'm gonna get this stashed somewhere and then fill this tub up with water. So I found a little spot here behind our well house. Hide this out for a month and a half or so. I will say I wasn't expecting this fleece. I honestly thought this was an Icelandic. I thought I had two Icelandics, but I think this might be a Cotswold. I thought I only had two Cotswold, and I saw that one and pulled this bin thinking it was Icelandic, but it's not. So this one might be Icelandic. Yeah, see, I'm just not sure. I've had this for so long, I genuinely don't remember. So I'll get these washed up and then see if I can go back through my notes and then figure out what it is these even were. I'm thinking Cotswold. So how does the Suint method actually work? I have some notes here beside me, and I'm gonna talk through what I understand happens during this method of cleaning. So first, as the sheep grows its wool each year, it's living life. It's just living life, and sheep sweat just like you and I. And that sweat, though, it has a lot of salts in it, and that builds up in the fleece on the sheep. Hopefully we don't do this, but as the sheep also go about their life, they tend to get urine and feces and other stuff like that, especially in their britch area. And depending on how well that fleece is skirted, that fleece might contain considerable amounts of stale urine or feces. More on that on a little bit. The Suint method actually uses the sweat salts. Those salts can dissolve in water and become a detergent of sorts. Now, the length of time that it takes for those sweat salts to emulsify and actually clean the wool depends on temperature and the pH of the water salt mixture. So the higher the temperature of the water and the higher the acidity of the water, the shorter it will take for the fleece to actually get clean. Simultaneously, as those salts work as a detergent, the vegetable matter and other organic matter in the wool will actually start to break down, and bacteria will grow in the wool and in the water. And so this is really useful if you've got vegetable matter like hay or briars and stuff like that in the fleece. They'll actually start breaking down in the water. And that's the reason why the fleece starts smelling. And the stronger it smells, the more bacteria is in the water and therefore on the fleece. So there's a very fine balance there. You want the vegetable matter to break down, but you don't want it to go so far that it actually starts breaking down the wool as well, or gets so stinky that you can't use that fleece. Now, one of my questions is, does this method actually remove lanolin? And at a chemical or scientific level here, Suint, the salts, won't dissolve the lanolin, especially in the length of time that it takes to clean the wool versus it breaking down. I did mention earlier that that britch fiber, or depending on how dirty your sheep was, it might contain urine and feces. Historically, stale urine was used as a way to clean laundry. If you've ever seen any of Ruth Goodman's videos about laundry in historic periods, you might have seen that stale urine can be used as a stain remover, to bleach linen, things like that. So the urine in the fleece can act as another type of detergent there to actually remove some parts of the lanolin. So unless that sheep though has a lot of urine in the fleece, it likely won't be removing all of the lanolin or even most of it. Now, if you're just using the sweat salts as a detergent, you skirted out all of the bits that might have had urine in it, then you likely will see very little of the lanolin coming out of that fleece. As I mentioned, it is a fine balance. You want the fleece to get cleaned, but this method will not remove lanolin, and you don't want it to go so far as to become really, really smelly. So it is a balance. It's a fine act, and so it might require a little bit of trial and error on your part, unless you're willing to go down the rabbit hole of scientific research and measuring air temperatures every day and stuff like that, or water temperatures even, or the acidity. That's not the point of this method. The point of this method is to use less water and be maybe less impactful, or even removing vegetable matter while preserving lanolin. So all that to say is that you can take the Suint method and combine it with another wool washing method. You can use something like Power Scour, Dawn, or Orvis paste, something like that, and do a hot water clean on the wool and get some of the lanolin out. So if you want to preserve lanolin, this is a great way to do it. But that's not to say you couldn't also use another washing method to further remove the lanolin off of your fleece if your Suint method didn't remove enough for your taste. Now, I hope that explains kind of how the Suint method works on a more chemical or scientific level. I'm not an expert. I've read a little bit of research on this, but not a whole lot. And I welcome you guys to share your experiences or any sort of tools or sources that you have used if you've used the Suint method. Now, let's go back to how I was processing this fleece and what I got out of it. All right, so it's been about a week on this wool. I can see some sort of scum on top. I wonder if that's the saponification of the Suint method. I'm not really sure, but I think today I'll go ahead and wash it out. And yeah, I'm gonna be doing some campfires out here, and I'm gonna see if I can boil up some water using the campfire. All right, this looks pretty clean. I'm pretty impressed with how that method worked, but it is really stinky even after only a week. So and I'm also not sure how much lanolin is left in it. I've got gloves on, so I can't feel. I think I'm gonna do some rinsing here, and then I'm gonna wash it with hot and soap. Good morning, everyone. So it's the next day. I have the two fleeces here. This is the one that I was able to wash yesterday, This one I did the Suint method on, but didn't even get a chance to rinse it off. So I want to do that now and get them in the sunshine so they can start drying properly. Even though they've been outside overnight, they're still very, very wet because I have them here in the bag so that the wool wouldn't like blow away overnight. But there's a lot of sunshine. It's going to be warm today. I want to get it laid out so that they can dry out and air, because even though they're both starting to smell a lot more like wool, this one still has a funky smell from it from doing the Suint method. So I want to get them aired out a little bit better. It's interesting, as I'm rinsing this out, you can see like suds coming. And I'm wondering if that really is like the soap or saponification that happens from the Suint method. So trying to get this rinsed out. You can see the water is still pretty dirty. So I'm gonna keep rinsing. Lady Grey, should I make you a cat bed with wool? Do you want me to make you a cat bed? So here are my two fleeces. I'm actually really pleased with how the Suint method turned out. This is the one that I did some hot water rinsing on, and it feels pretty clean. I don't feel a whole lot of lanolin left in it. It picks apart pretty nicely. Some of the tips are still crunchy, and that could have been helped by maybe picking apart the locks a little bit more, but it's pretty soft. It kind of, yeah, I feel like this could be outerwear. This other fleece, the darker one, it definitely feels maybe like it has a little more lanolin left in it. But I think most of the smell has come out. All I did was rinse it with cold water the next day when I got home. I still feel like I could spin with this pretty well. I can pick it apart with my hands, and it feels nice. I don't think it smells bad at all. There's still some sections that are a bit damp, even though I've had it out in the sun for 2 days. So I think I need to spread that out a little bit more, give it some more time to finish drying. I think in some of the denser sections like this, where it's a little more compacted, I don't feel like that got as clean or as rinsed out. I'm not entirely sure that there might be some of this that's a little too matted for me to just pick apart by hand. But I think the only other question that I wanted to address with these two fleeces is like how much lanolin is actually still left in these fleeces. This one had hot water and some soapy hot water and some hot water rinses. This one had none of that. So I want to take a couple locks of each and do a really good, like a hot water rinse on both of them and see how much lanolin might come out of that. So let's go do that. All right, I've picked out 2 locks. This is from the one that's had a hot water rinse. This is the one that was just Suint method. And I'm gonna go take them inside and put some hot water on them and see if I can tell how much lanolin might still be in these locks. All right, I have some water here. It's just shy of a boil, so I know it's gonna be hot enough to melt the lanolin. So I'm just going to pour it in. Like so. I think that's roughly the same. And what I'm really looking for is something like cloudy to come off the locks. I want to see the water get kind of milky looking, and that'll tell me how much lanolin is in. Like, does one look just kind of opaque, and does one not? And so far, I'm not seeing like a ton of like milkiness coming off of either one. I might push down the locks and see. I think you're already starting to see a little bit of the lanolin, so let me get you in closer. All right, if you can tell, if it'll focus, those little like kind of like soapy looking marks, that is some of the lanolin melting off these locks. I'm really not seeing it on this set. I'm trying to be really gentle here. You definitely see like bubbles. Some of those will dissipate off. But over here, I think you can definitely see that some of that is definitely lanolin. And this is really about like seeing the difference in the amount of lanolin between one that's been hot washed and rinsed even after doing the Suint method versus one that's just Suint. And you can really see, I think, the difference. I don't mind if these get felted because I'm like agitating them in hot water, like they're just small locks, but I think you can see that is the lanolin left over. Also, I don't know if it's going to show up on camera, but you can almost tell the scurf that I was talking about. So right now the hot water is not dissolving this. So that tells me that it is not lanolin. It's not like built up or clumpy lanolin. That's telling me that it's more something like dandruff or scurf in this wool. So I'm happy to still use this wool. It's clean enough for my use to want to use it for rug yarn. Maybe not clothing yarn. So even if I picked out, you know, the cleaner parts of the fleece, I don't feel like doing that. So I think both these fleeces, I think is going straight to rug yarn. I think throughout this whole process that I really like the Suint method. It was gross and it did smell, but I think both the fleeces turned out very clean. And I think if I had given it a little bit more of my time and attention, rather than being as lazy as I did, I might have resulted in an even cleaner, nicer feeling wool. If I were to do the Suint method on another fleece that I plan to use for wearable garments, I would likely go ahead and do more rinses or even wash with some soap. I am happy with how this turned out, and I'm okay with the amount of lanolin that is left in the wool because I do intend to make rug yarn out of this. I don't mind that there might be some little bit of water resistant property to that rug. I also don't mind if there is a little bit of vegetable matter or a little bit of the dandruff or scurf in the finished yarn, because again, I plan to use this for rugs. We're gonna walk over it. We're gonna have our dirty feet all over it. And even though I will wash and keep the rugs clean, I mean, it goes on the floor and you walk over it. Did the Suint method work? And I would say it did. And I am happy to use this method again on the right type of fleece, in the right type of situation. So I was hoping that this would be a completely lazy, like super easy way to wash wool. And that was mostly true, but it wasn't completely like without effort. I'm really curious, would you guys try washing wool with this method? Are you guys I like to process wool type of person, or I will never process my own wool type of person? That's too gross. Definitely let me know down in the comments. I really appreciate you guys watching and creating along with me today. Please let me know what kind of projects you're working on right now. Let me know some failed fleece scouring or some very successful fleece scouring projects that you guys have done, and any recommendations you might have for making up rugs with this fleece for me. So please consider subscribing, give us a like, give me a like, it's just me here. Please give me a like, really appreciate it. And be sure to go check out some of my other videos that might be popping up here. Anyways, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.